Good morning. Welcome to Leaning In with Ann. Today, what I'm going to be talking about is goals, dreams. It's one thing to make yourself focused and driven and get all your tasks done and do all the things so that you can get to your goal. It's one way. And a completely different thing to get heaven's help so that your dreams are expedited. We're going to talk today about how to connect all of that and how to achieve, accomplish, move forward, and do it with grace and ease. Welcome, I'm Ann Ferguson. I am an author. I am a creator. I am a friend. I am a mentor. I am a business coach. I am a public speaker. So many things, right? All of those are things I do. I also am ADD. I am a wife. I love that role. All right, let's get into it. So you got a dream. You can kind of see it. It's kind of like, I don't know, for me, I've got a dream that I'll explain in a minute. It's kind of like a Polaroid, right? You take the Polaroid picture. I'm old, so I know about Polaroids. And you flap it. And when you flap it, the picture actually starts to come into focus, right? Well, I find that a lot of my dreams, I'm not flapping. And so it doesn't ever really come into focus. Like I generally kind of know what I would love, but sometimes not really. So I just go on the day and life just kind of happens to me instead of me being intentional about what I would love. Now, the other thing that comes into play here is I know that when I'm aligned with God's will, I can ask for heaven's help, and He does. They used to hang me up all the time because how in the world am I supposed to know what God's will is? I mean, His brain is pretty vast, you know. His plan may not be mine, all of that kind of stuff. How do I even know if it's Him, if it's His will? Because otherwise, just kind of wasting time. And I'm asking amiss. There's a scripture that talks about that. Ask not amiss. You know, ask and you shall receive, but ask not amiss. And people totally jack that one up and think, oh my gosh, what if I throw the dart at what I want and it's going to not hit the bullseye of God's mind? Do you see how ridiculous that is? The reality is, with something amiss actually doesn't mean you missed the mark. It also means with something missing. So the question is, what are you missing? And part of that is that faith. And it's unwavering. I'll show you how to do that in a second because we're going to go through a story about me and buying my house. It's kind of cool. God's been all over it. We got to have our dream and our vision. How many of you out there, give me a thumbs up. Even if you're doing this later, give me a thumbs up. If it's really scary to dream. Like, things have not worked out so many times. It's like you want to love God and you don't want to give to Him your dream, because if you do and it doesn't come true, then you don't want to be mad at God, but you're also disappointed and you're trying to be faithful, but you never get what you want. It's such an ugly cycle, right? Over and over and over again. So we're going to start with baby little things. Like, that's why we do the Create Your Day, is because those of you who are trying to use your mindset and get your faith strong and figure out how to do this connection with God thing so that your dreams can be helped with heaven, you got to do baby morsel steps. Because if you're just doing little teeny tiny moments of this throughout your day, then when you get to a great big giant thing that you need to take care of, where you really need God to like move mountains and jump over blocks, you've had enough practice that you know how to hold it. Because honestly, when you got a great big dream, and you really want it to happen, there's a thing in my brain, I don't know, is it like you, where you go, I don't want to get my hopes up. Anybody ever say that to themselves? I don't want to get my hopes up. Guys, you got to get your hopes up. That is the very thing that we need. And it's so vulnerable, right? Like, how many times in your past have you asked Like you've actually finally opened your mouth and said, this is what I want, and then it didn't happen. It didn't work for you. Okay. So there's a reason why you're freaking out. That's totally okay. Dreams. I'm going to tell you a story about how I do this. So one of the principles is seeing it done. What that means is, what does it look like when the dream is realized? Like, what am I doing? And then, what am I feeling as I'm doing? Like, what does that feel like? If you can align those two things, then we have something we can give to God and say, hey, this, I would love this. All right, here's how this is going down for me. Here's my story. I have moved every 3 years for the past 15 years. That's on average. Sometimes it was a year and a half. Sometimes it was 5 years. But on average, for the past 15 years, I have moved every 3 years. Let me tell you what that does to a person. I used to be very engaged in my church community. I used to be very neighborly and hang out with people or invite people over. That's why I stayed in the same house for 15 years. When I started this new life where I was moving all the time, I did that, and then I was ripped away from people that I really, really loved, situations, circumstances. I, to this day, want the YMCA that's at Newbern, North Carolina, to be transplanted where I live right now. Like, I loved so much. I did aerobics with like 60-year-olds, rocking it. They would kick my butt all the time, but it wasn't raunchy. It wasn't me. It was just, we had so much fun. And when I got pulled away from that, I never found my groove in the gym again. And it was really heartbreaking because it's what I was doing, something really good for myself, right? Then I got taken away from it. Really, really good friends, you know. One of the things I know is that when I move, it takes me 6 months to feel like I'm a little bit stable. And then it takes me about a year and a half for me to feel like I know where I fit within communities that I'm in. Because most of these moves, by the way, have been across state lines. So it wasn't just a neighborhood move. No, we went from Virginia to North Carolina to Pennsylvania, that kind of stuff. And it really disrupts everything. So another thing that I do with this is that I have a lot of things still in boxes, even though we moved into this house 2 years ago. Now they're put away. They're in closets, they're in the garage, they're in places that, you know, I know that they're there. Why are they there? They're there because I don't know if I'm going to need it for the next house. Because sometimes the walls aren't the same. So I've got pictures that are sitting in my closet that I had a place for in one of my houses. But in this house, I don't have the place. And so I don't know. Am I going to move again? All right, here's the story. We have been in this house for 2 years. I was given this house totally by God. I was pushed out of the other house. This happens a lot, where the owner of the property wants back in their house and we've got to move. Well, it was kind of out of nowhere. I thought we were staying another year. Out of nowhere, we got ripped out of this house. I was mad, so mad. Stayed in my bed for 3 days, pouting, mad at God, just really letting him have it. You know, how could he do this to me again? I'm so tired. So I got the idea, because I do different things now. I've got a lot of mindset training, and I'm a mindset trainer. So I go, oh, let me use my tools. So pulled out a piece of paper, shut my eyes, and envisioned the feeling, not the room. So I didn't envision the carpet or the colors or anything like that. But I wrote, when I walk into this house, what would I love people to feel as they walk in? And I wrote that I want them to feel welcomed and drawn in. I said I would love, and this one I did say, a room off the front that has a place, a good space for my grand piano. I have a baby grand piano. I played and played and played and played and played it when I was in Pennsylvania. And here I haven't ever found a place that really is quite like Pennsylvania, even to this day. But I wanted that, and I wanted light to flow into that room because I could get a lot of joy playing the piano. I wanted to feel that inspiration when I played, and that light mattered. I wanted to feel in my kitchen like it was easy to host. I went into that feeling of what hosting feels like and inviting people in and all of that. So I went room by room, and it was like 2 days later, there was a house that came up, and I went, maybe this is it. I don't know. I was still pouty. And I went over and I felt excitement as I was driving to it. And Monday morning, that was a Sunday, Monday morning, I went through it. And by Monday afternoon or Tuesday, I'd signed the lease. This house has exactly every single thing I wanted. Okay, here's the crisis. Are you ready? Crisis time is that my property management called and they said, the landlord wants to sell the property. There's no negotiating on this. You need to be out. I felt like I got kicked in the gut. I just like PTSD from all the moves. I cried. I couldn't even talk to my husband. I was so upset. I just texted him and let him know what was happening. And I don't even know. It was so bad. So my husband came home. He travels all the time. So he came home and there was this like great big elephant in the room about what we weren't talking about. I didn't think he liked this house. He didn't choose it. I found it. And there were some things that weren't great in his eyes about this house. And so I was scared that I would have to be ripped out either from him or the real estate agent, one of the two. And I got up in the morning, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes God wakes me up and says, come downstairs, we need to talk. So I write a letter to God all the time. And so I was writing this letter to God. And I was like, I don't want to move. I don't want to box things up. I don't want to be in limbo. I don't want to find another community. I don't want to be weird and take time for people to understand that I just think deeper, but I'm not weird. I'm just different, right? I feel like I finally found that in this particular place that I'm at. And so I was complaining. Ooh, listen, some people think you're not supposed to complain to God. Nope. I get to tell him all the things that are making me mad, upset, and sad. That is not the same as murmuring. Murmuring is talking under your breath with somebody else, like you don't want God to hear that you're really, really displeased. Like he thinks he's all that. And he doesn't even know that he's doing all this. He's destroying all of this stuff. That is murmuring. Complaining is saying, God, I want you to see my heart. How can I be seen and known by God if I'm not willing to show? So I did all this. I'm complaining. I don't even feel bad about it. He knows we have a good relationship that way. And then I hear, get out the red pen. Now, when the red pen comes out, that means he's talking back. That also used to feel super weird. Like, who am I to take God's words? But I don't publish them out to anybody else. This is him to me. And he said to me what I say to people all the time. What would you love? Like, how do you want this to go? Do you want to move or do you want to stay? What? Like I got to ask, okay, wait a minute, God, wait a minute. You have moved me every 3 years for the past 15 years. Are you really saying I get a choice right now? So literally, I'd been complaining about I don't want to box things up. I don't want to be tired. I don't want to go through what is, it's awful to move. And he says, what do you want? Well, in that moment, I went, I don't know. That's kind of funny, right? Because here I've been complaining that I don't want to move. I hadn't actually said what I do want. And the reason why it stumped me is because sometimes it's fun to go find a new house. Like, do I get the swimming pool in this one or do I not? Right? Does this one have a place where I can work out? What's the neighborhood like? Finding new friends. There are some upsides. And I'm sitting there in my office at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, I don't know what I want. And I says, can I get back to you? It's literally in my journal. Can I get back to you, Lord God? And he said, it is your choice this time, dear. He says, whatever you choose, It's not going to be like you're ripped apart. Whatever you choose, I will make it super easy. And I went, really? Really? But I felt it. I went back, I laid down, and went to sleep. The next day, I wake up, and like I said, elephant in the room between me and my husband. I don't know where he is on this page of, getting the house or not getting the house. He actually knows where I'm at, I think. And we finally sit down because the realtor was going to come talk to us. We had to get on the same page and know what we were doing. And so I started in. I said, we need to talk about the house. And I started on him. I don't want to move. I do not want to move. I don't want to box things up. I don't want all the things I told him. The move prior to this one, like I said, we were like told immediately, you have to leave. And there was a lot of yucky promises that weren't kept in that. And it felt awful. And I felt controlled. And I felt like I had no choice. So I've got some PTSD about that, right? And so as I was expressing, I kind of am not trusting my husband to have my back because of that experience. Not that he doesn't always have my back. It's just one little experience. And I got some PTSD. So I finally stopped. And I looked at him and I said, I don't know what you want. He goes, well, I don't know. Actually, he got really quiet. He got really, really quiet and sat there and he said, I don't want to move. And I went, okay, what? You don't want to move. He goes, I don't want to move. You don't want to move. Oh my gosh, you don't want to move. Okay. Then the mindset training kicked in a different way. What I know about mindset training is that being able to see it done. Seeing it done is not seeing how it's going to be done. It's being in the moment of it completed. What does that even look like? And what do I feel? So I said, are you willing to do the mindset work necessary? And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, the mindset work. Like envisioning us in this house. Like, what does it look like if we are still in this house in July? Like, what are we doing if we haven't had to pack up? Like July, what are we doing? And he's quiet for a minute and I think, oh no, we're going to get shut down. And he goes, well, the first thing I see is you painting. And it was so good, you guys, because there was the color in North Carolina, that house, I love so much. By the way, if you want to look it up, it's called Nantucket Gray and it's by Benjamin Moore. Love that color. There's so much peace in that color. So when I went to Pennsylvania, I actually convinced the property management to paint some rooms in my house that color. So fun, because I loved it. And I get to where I'm at now, and nobody will let me paint. And he knows that I love that color. So him saying, well, first thing I can do is I can see you painting. And you guys, immediately when I said that, I see myself up on a ladder. There's an arch that goes over between the kitchen and the living room. And I could see me up on a ladder with my green paint painting. Like, I could see it. He could see it. And I went, oh my gosh, this is great. Okay, let's go outside. So we went outside. And I said, where's the swimming pool? He says, right here. I go, deep end. He goes, yep. And I go, shallow end. He goes, yep. And I go, cool. All right. And then he walked in the house and said, first thing I'm going to do is change that damn lamppost. There's a lamppost that's outside that has not worked since we got here. But the landlord says that it's cosmetic. So it's been driving Tom crazy for years. As I was walking back into my house, I'm like, what would it even feel like to own again? Because I've only owned one house. It was a long, long time ago. What would it feel like to even own? And I was looking up my stairs and whoo, this feeling came down kind of on top of me. It was like ownership. And I went, oh my gosh, like I own this house. Yeah, that's God confirming my dream. It's so much fun. Okay, so fast forward. Now the real estate agent is supposed to come. I am in absolute panic. I am spinning, those of you who know me, I was spinning, or know my stuff, at a level 4 all day. Okay, so you guys, a level 4 is where your brain can't get out. It's like kind of obsessive. And you're trying to work everything out, or you're having conversations with people, and you're expressing things, or you're expressing things in your head, and it just doesn't stop. Like, it kind of overwhelms you, right? I was at a 4. I was in panic. I was in, who are we to actually own a house? Like, I don't know, there might have been a big bully kind of messing with me, right? So what I did is turn on some music that I have learned calms my heart. And I went back in and I sat down and I wrote, and I told God all about all the things that I was afraid of. And I'm saying, okay, what does it look like when I'm here? What does it look like if I'm not? Thank you so much for that feeling that you gave me the other day. Okay. And the real estate agent walked in the house. He didn't know us. Who are you? We kind of tell him. He goes, okay, so why don't you guys own a house? So I went through the rental history, all the things. And he's like, oh, okay. He goes, but I mean, why do you need such a big house? I mean, it's just you and your husband and your son. And I said, can I show you? So I took him to that piano room that is now the piano and the podcast studio for Belief Matters. And he's, oh gosh, this is a studio. And I go, it's a studio. And then I took him upstairs to the spare bedrooms that I have when people come in for conferences that I'm doing. They get to stay at my house. Other people come through all the time and they stay. Anyway, so he comes back downstairs and he goes, oh, this house fits you. And I said, this house fits us. But we're not ready to buy because all of our money is being poured into the business. And we need 12 months. And so my husband said, what if we give you $10,000 to buy another year? That way taxes and other things can be taken care of that way. And then we can stay and interest rates can drop and, we can negotiate from there. And the answer was, well, truth be told, I'm 50-50 partners with the owner. Let me check. So a couple weeks later, I get a call and he says, the owner is actually not feeling great about $10,000. And that's because he's been burned in the past and we need to work something else out, if he's going to do owner financing. What? We didn't say owner financing. So he said, actually, it's going to be the best bet for you because you can prove a record of paying this and it'll be really easy to get refinanced. How to get a house without having to go through all the bank approvals in the same way. Oh my gosh, you guys, having a full year and staying in the house that we're going to buy. So he came over yesterday. We negotiated how much we're putting down, how much higher payment would be. And he's coming over and we are going to sign that document. And you guys, one of the first things he said is like, it's a lease option, but it's just like you're owning it. I mean, you can paint. That's what he said. You can paint. You can change things. You can do stuff. Oh my word. Okay, so the principles, how to connect God into your dreams. First of all, if you've got anything in the way that is a yeah, but, or you don't like this, or you don't want it, do not be afraid to tell God how upset you are about how things are going. You kind of need to get that out so that you know that he's listening. He's not trying to force you into his will. Let's talk about that for just a really quick second. I have found out that we sat down with him before we came to this earth, and he says, hey, what do you want to experience? Not just the yuck. What do you want to have happen? Like, who do you want to be? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to do? What kind of impact do you want to have? And we made a plan. We high-fived. We went, that sounds good. So honestly, he's holding the vision of my will. It's already my will. God's will is my will. How cool is that? That what he's doing with all of his nudges is just telling me what needs to be done so that at the end, I can literally have all the desires of my heart while I'm here. Okay? So, for whatever reason, this house is part of that will. This experience is part of that will. Same thing for you. You can complain. You can whine. And at the same time, I did give it up to God because I know, number one, he could get me another house that's exactly like I want it, right? because he did it last time. Or he could make things all work out. Move mountains. I am about to purchase a home without having to do a whole lot of things. That was God saying, it's going to be easy. I'm just going to support you. It's all good. I'm right here. So tell him what you want. Tell him what you don't want. And then get really clear about what you do want. This morning I was looking at scriptures. I was looking about the promised land, right? Moses, he took the children of Israel to the promised land. And I went, what is my promised land? Like 5 years from now, which is really hard because my business has only been going for 4 years and so much has changed in my life. It's really hard to imagine what it would be, but maybe I'll go 2 years. What does my promised land look like in 2 years? What am I doing? How do I feel? So it's not just about what I'm doing, but how am I feeling? I am going to go home and today I'm going to write a vision about what does it look like when everything is humming? What kind of things am I creating? Where am I traveling to speak? What does my heart feel as I meet people, as I give presentations, I'm just, what does all of that look like? What about my downtime? Like, do I have other things in place where my downtime is really my downtime? Because right now, my downtime is not my downtime. My downtime is more thinking time about what to do. That's what an entrepreneur does. Is that my promised land? Or is that me like in a boat? I built the boat. I built all of the things the business needs. I think I might be in a boat now, trying to get to the promised land. Kind of, moving the oars and the sails, and I'm still working. But in the promised land, I read this morning that they put down seeds. Everything that they had brought with them, they put down to the ground, and it sprung up as abundance. I think the seeds are all of the experiences, all of the things I've learned, all of the faith that I built, right? And so I'm going to put some seeds in the ground as soon as I get the promised land. It might be sooner than later. And those seeds are going to bring me the abundance that I desire, what I want. I'm going to put it out here for you. I don't want to be rich in a way that makes it so that I'm just living my life and disconnected. I would love to have great wealth and be doing walk and talks and be helping people. Like, this isn't going to stop. And I want to have resources to help communities. I want to have resources to help other entrepreneurs to get their little leg up. I want to be used by God in so many ways. I would love my husband to be able to be home more than traveling. I don't know what his dream is. I don't know what it looks like for him. We've talked a little bit, but I don't think we've talked about what his day looks like when there is wealth. But I'm all about doing every single step that is necessary to make that happen. He just wants to bless us, guys. All right. That's it, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. See ya.